Bears. Ahem. Bears Country Podcast. Welcome to Bears Country Podcast. This episode is about something that I have realized is long overdue. I'm going to dedicate this podcast to the biggest Bears fan of all time. And her name is Virginia McCaskey. Virginia McCaskey loves the Bears more than you or I do. And it's not even close. If you think it is, you are gravely mistaken. Although Virginia McCaskey probably never really planned on inheriting the team, she has done an admirable job as a woman owner of a NFL franchise from 1983 until this current time. Muggs Hallis, George's son, George Jr., was supposed to inherit the team. In 1950, he was brought into the front office of the team. In 1963, he became the team president. And in 1974, he was the general manager until his death in 1979. On December 16th, which was actually the final day of the NFL season. In 1983, George himself passed away on October 31st. And after that, the team became Virginia's. What could that have been like for her? A young lady inheriting the team, becoming one of the first female owners of any franchise. Not to mention one of the most successful franchises at that point. So I kind of want to take a little homage now and pay my respects because I think it's long overdue. I think we all need to realize what a classy, beautiful, well-spoken, and intelligent woman and the biggest Bears fan of all time. In 2019, during the Bears' 100-year celebration, she conducted an interview, and the interview really says a lot about what a classy, old-school, wonderful lady she is. Kind of want to talk about some of the questions that were asked and what her responses were. The first question was, what does it mean to celebrate 100 years of Bears football? And this was her answer.
I hope that, I always hope that our present day players and coaches once in a while give a little thought to the early teams and the beginnings of the National Football League.
Virginia wasn't even born when the Bears were established. The Bears started in 1919. Became an official football team around in 1920. She was born in 1923. And even though Muggs was born in 1925, we can't all assume that he would have still been alive today. We all know that men don't live to be into their ripe old 90s all that often, so it's fair to assume that she still would have inherited the team at some point because Muggs didn't have any children of his own to inherit the team, therefore she inherited it. And I just love her answer there because she goes back to what the roots of football are and that we need to remember our history. And I think that's very important when you're talking about the NFL and you're talking about a team like the Bears. I'll even say it, maybe even the Packers too. Their history is rich. Not that I'm going to give them any credit. But for a team that's been around this long and for her to be the matriarch of it is just... I love Virginia McCaskey. And I hope you all love her as much as I do, as much as we all as Bears fans should. We should hold her on a pedestal of class because that's what she is. The next question that she was asked in this interview was, what made you fall in love with football? And this was her answer.
It was so important to my dad. And that was his life. Mm-hmm. And anything that was important to him just automatically became very important to me.
This is a young lady who probably never in her wildest dreams before 1979 would have thought that she was going to be the one owning this team and having to run it, right? So for her to have had all this passion into a male's sport, a man's sport when she was younger, to love the team and to grow up with the team and to inherit the team finally. And regardless of what you think of how the team has been handled under her ownership, she has done an admirable, excellent, and respectful job. And she is truly one of the most respected owners in all of sports. Just ask anyone. The next question she was asked was, what would your dad think about this 100th season of Bears football? And the fact that she's able to sit here and even answer the question kind of says a lot, right? So here was her answer.
He would enjoy it. One of his favorite nights of the year was always the alumni party. And this is alumni party and steroids.
Hopefully not on steroids, but you get her point. Her dad loved the conglomeration of the Illini, the alumni of the team that were coming together and getting together and talking Bears, right? Kind of like we all like to do now, just about Bears of past. We none of us can get 85 out of our damn heads. We need to move on from that. As far as I'm concerned, we need another title. And by the way, we need another title for Virginia McCaskey. She is the biggest Bears fan alive, and she deserves it more than any of us do. The next question that she was asked is, what is your favorite moment in Bears history? And this was her answer.
When the Bears won the championship game in 2006.
The championship game in 2006. It wasn't even the 85 championship. It was the Bears NFC championship game in 2006 when they won and went to the Super Bowl. Can you imagine what she would have felt if they actually won the Super Bowl that year? Could you imagine if they actually got to the Super Bowl in 2010 when they lost the NFC championship game to the Could you imagine if they would have won the Super Bowl in 2018 in Nagy's first season? What that would have done to her? She's hanging on. She's 99. She will be 100 years old in January 5th. She'll be 100 years old. She's hanging on for another Bears championship. Come on, guys, let's give it to her. I loved her next question. I loved her answer to the next question, which was, do you hate losing? And if you think that you hate losing as a Bears fan, come on. Let's put yourself in her shoes. Here was her answer.
My children would probably have a few words about that. My family knows and they understand. Mm-hmm. It's not a pretty scene.
So that means she would have forgiven me for the hole that I put in the door after the 2001 playoff loss to the Eagles. It's still sitting there somewhere in Illinois. I'm sure that nobody's fixed it. I would like to see if she's kicked the trash can across the room sometime, or, thrown her coffee onto the floor and walked out of the room. When George came out and said, she's pissed, I would have loved to have seen it, because I know it would trump anything that I feel about the Bears, because she truly is the biggest Bears fan. The next question that she was asked about was about her pride in being one of the first woman owners in all of football. And this was her answer.
Pride is a word I try to avoid because I'm in this position due to my inheritance. I haven't done anything to earn it. I still consider it a man's world, and I'm very grateful to be involved as much as I am. I think it's a great privilege, and I have to make sure that I don't disappoint.
Pride is a word that she tries to avoid. She's so humble that all she wants to do is be a classy stand-up act for the charter franchise of the NFL. She's the second owner of this team. Think about that. Oh, really think about that for a second. This team has been around over 100 years. She's the second owner of the team. Wow. So we have got to win this for her. I know everyone's shitting all over the Bears this year. I have them at 11-6. Nomad has them as 11-6 after this season. Nothing's impossible, people. If the team can put Virginia on their shoulders and try to get to the playoffs this season, anything is possible. It really is. And to win one for her, after she turns 100 years old, could you imagine how special that would be? Could you imagine how special that would be? Virginia McCaskey, you are one of my favorite people of all time. As the second owner of the Bears, I love you just as much as I love your father. And Virginia, I really, truly, deeply hope that we can fulfill your dream on this earth, because you truly are the leading lady of the NFL. If you like this video, please subscribe, set your notifications, and like. Until next time, everyone, bear down.